All right, everybody, welcome back for week 6, starting on chapter 5. And this week we're going to start a new project. Um, this week's going to be about the same as the rest. Watch the video, read the chapter, and you're going to have to really follow along this week. It's going to show you how to do a lot of the things that are in this week's project. But a lot of the stuff we've also done, so it's not too much extra learning, if that makes any sense. And there are no self-test exercises this week. So just the quiz and the programming exercise, which I think will probably be a little more intensive than we're used to, but you know how to do this stuff. We've covered it already. So the project we're going to start this week is going to look like this. And in fact, let me do this. It's going to start out with a password protected website. Can't get in unless you know the password. The book will show you how to do this. So follow along, pay attention. If you get it to work this week, that's awesome. If you don't, that's okay, because none of this is going to have any functionality yet. We'll work on the functionality next week. But your password should work. And once you hit enter, you get access to the application. And this week, your application is going to have 5 pages. One is that password page. The other 4 are for this application. Just a simple about page. We've gone over how to create this nav bar. You should know how to put a heading and a paragraph, and that's all that's in this div. The next page is going to contain a form to enter patient data. These are labels like we've done in the past. This is an input like we've done in the past. Some of these inputs are a little different. This is not just a text input. This one is like a birth date. It's expecting a birth date in this format. Pulls up a calendar. That's nice. Password, height, weight. And this is like a little drop down. So we've covered sliders, radio buttons, and several other different input methods by this point. Again, it's in the book. But I'll cover that in just a second. Also, this page needs to have a few buttons. We're going to have a search button. So if we put in a first name and a last name and then hit search, it will pull up the rest of that patient's data that's stored in the database. This button will allow us to add or edit patient. We can add a new patient or edit current patient database, current patient information that is stored in the database. Obviously, this button will delete a patient from the database. And this form here will just clear, or this button here will clear the form so we can start over. So this page is going to be our workhorse. The next page is going to be a simple graph, and it's going to pull information based on the patient that we have pulled up. It's going to pull the information from the database and put it in a graph. Now, it's not going to be, I've decided not to do like an overtime graph. This is going to be more like a chart based on the information provided, the height and weight. It'll be a body mass index chart, and we will draw on that chart based on the information that we're given from the database. It does it dynamically, and it's pretty neat when we see how it works. And the last page will just be a recommendation page based on, the person's BMI. Should they eat more? Should they eat less? Should they do whatever? I don't know. This page we're gonna add an image, and we're gonna highlight some things as it goes along. But that will be the finished project. This week, I simply want you to build what you see here. These 5 pages, including the password page. And it doesn't have to do anything yet. The nav bar should work because you know how to do that. But everything else, the buttons aren't going to work yet. Next week, we will learn about storing information in databases, how to pull it out, how to read it, how to get what you need out of it. And then we'll start adding functionality to all this and do the JavaScript. So this week's going to be like HTML, CSS, design it, make it pretty. And then next week, we will do all of the JavaScript functionality. You should know how to do this, but just in case you need a little refresher, let's go and look at the code. If I can get these right to look right in your screen. There. All right, so you can see this is the patient page. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm sorry. Let me scoot this back open. I do it this way with the menu buttons like we've seen already, with the 4 menu buttons at the top. In your lesson this week from Cengage, they're going to show you how to do it differently. And they'll show you how to have this like menu button that takes you to the menu and then to your patient data or to the about page. Recommended. They just show you how to navigate a multi-page document. If you want to do it that way and you like that, more power to you. I don't care. I'm not a big fan of that. Now, the benefit to doing it this way is that all of your HTML is in one HTML file, whereas if you do it the other way, you've got 4 separate folders. Now, I'm pretty sure you could code it so that this works the same way as the other, and you can get it all on one page. But I just like having my pages separated. I know what code goes on each page, and that's just the way I like to do it. But that's the great thing about coding. You design it how you want, as long as it works, it's good. So to design it how you want. And let's squeeze this back over here. So the patient data page, the one with all the information on it, and all this stuff. You can see it's got labels and inputs. The names, input type is text. So your label, remember, your label is for text first name, and that's what this is called. Names, text first name. ID is text first name. Just, it's descriptive enough so that I know exactly what it is without having to think about it. So your label is what is shown here. And then the text input type is just text. And this is your first name right here. You see this placeholder, first name, is this little gray text in here. You can't select it, you can't change it, you can't do anything, but as soon as you start typing over it, it goes away. That's what the placeholder's for. You know, you've got a name and an ID and the value. Right now the value is nothing, but this is what our JavaScript is going to look for. We're going to specify, remember it's going to be like document get element by ID, text first name, and then dot value, and we'll pull this value out. So as soon as when you put the information in here, like first name's David, and I add it, it's in the database, it will go and pull it out. Or actually it'll go to the HTML, pull it out, and then throw it in the database. So same thing for the last name, same thing. The birth date, you can see the input type is date, and that's why you get the nice little drop down calendar. Oh, you can't see it, but that's why it's formatted in such a way it's expecting a birth date. The next one for password, there's a password type of input, and that way when you type in here, it just shows the dots. It doesn't actually display the passwords, which is pretty neat. It does that for you. You don't have to think about it. The height and weight are both texts. And then you have this drop down, the ID. It's my DRPMF drop down male female. That's how I named it. Again, you can name it whatever you want as long as it makes sense to you. But this is how you do a drop down. And you kind of make it a little table, right? So it's a table row with the gender label, the select ID, or the option value 1, option value 2, and you can put as many options in there as you want, make that drop down as long as you want. So that is how you do it. And all of this is kept on a form. Here starts the table. Okay, and then the form. Just to keep it, so I put it in a table so that it keeps it neat and everything is sized correctly relative of the size of the word. Like last name and first name, the phrases are longer than height and weight, but they're contained in the same size box because I put it in a table. It's not necessary. As long as you have all the required information and it works, it doesn't have to be pretty, but you should try and make it as pretty and user friendly as you can. I just don't want you to spend a billion days on this. And then, of course, at the bottom, I made a table for the buttons so that they also do the same thing. And as I grow and stretch this, you can see the buttons and the inputs and the names kind of stay all the same because the table spaces them evenly. That is the patient data. The about page is really, you've got your nav bar, and that's the code for the about page. Real simple. Graph, we haven't talked about canvases yet, and we will, but this is the whole code so far for the, well, here's your H3. It says graph data at the top, and here's your canvas. The class is a panel body, canvas ID, graph canvas. We haven't talked about that yet. So if you don't get a canvas in there, you don't understand how to do it, I'll understand. We will do that in chapter 7 or 8. Either way, 7, I think. We'll learn about canvases and how to draw on those. But that's a canvas. And then the recommendations, again, you've got an H3 for the title. The top just says recommendations at the top, and then a paragraph. That will all change later, but if you get these started, you'll have a leg up coming forward, or as we go further on in. If, again, you can't see, but I'll show you just quickly next week. We'll go over to local storage and how to put stuff in there and pull. We can push data out to the database and pull information from the database. And that's what we'll concentrate on, that patient data page next week. And then the following week, we will do graphics on the canvas, and I'll show you how to draw on a canvas. That is all. Short video. If you guys have any questions, please send me an email and I will help you. Thanks.